tonight we're talking about 10 ways to design better systems for your business. But before I do that, I have to do this because some of you on the call may not know who I am, so I'll briefly talk a little bit about who I am. We're going to cover systems. We're going to talk about what it is. I'm going to give you my definition. I'm going to share with you some 5 essential business systems that you must have in order to be successful in your business. I'm going to share with you that avatar that I mentioned earlier, and her name is Jackie, and I'll explain what she is and who she is and what that's all about in just a few minutes. I'm going to use the avatar, Jackie, to explain to you the 10 ways to improve your systems, and then at the end I'm going to ask you to do 2 things, neither of which require a dime from you. So I'll go ahead and give you that heads up right at the beginning. All right, and finally when we get done with that part, I'm going to go through a little Q&A with you and find out what questions you have about things that are happening in your business, and I'll share more parameters about that as we get closer to that time. All right, so a little bit about me, just so you know who I am. First of all, I want to tell you that I'm very thrilled that I get the chance to spend this time with you tonight because I know that you could be doing other things. But I want to thank you and congratulate you because there is a lot of information that I'm going to share tonight that I have not shared before. There's also a lot of information that I'm going to share tonight that you probably haven't heard anywhere else. And part of it is because oftentimes we learn about what to do, but we don't get the how behind the scenes. So I'm going to share that with you in a free call. Can you believe that? I'm a business coach. I'm a soccer mom. I'm the mom of two small children. I say small, but my 11-year-old is almost as tall as me now. Both of them are girls. I have a 5-year-old and an 11-year-old. They're both girls. We live in the Dallas, Texas area. And for the last 5 of the 7 years that I've been coaching and consulting, I've been a business coach, meaning I've been working with independent service providers who basically are, most of the time they're coaches, they're consultants, they're marketers who are doing some type of business marketing themselves online. And so my background as a business coach and also for 20 years as an HR professional and an analyst has really brought me to this place of being able to share with you complex issues at times broken down into more simplified terms. It's one of the things I really love to do. Now, I've always had this techie thing going on, but only the people who really, really knew me understood this, and now I really get to share that with you through means like Meeting Burner tonight, through the online world. I like things to be simple and to the point. And so I really enjoy lists, which is why I came up with the list of 10 ways to help you to improve or do better with your systems. I have tried I've invested in a number of different programs, products, certifications, books, trainings, conferences, events, much like you probably have too. But I most of all enjoy helping people to leverage the internet to be able to get more done and to build a strong and profitable business. So that's a little bit about who I am. Let's get into this definition of a system and move things along. Remember I asked you what you thought a system was, and I was hearing or seeing some things that look very similar to the definition you're going to see on the screen. So that makes me feel encouraged because we're all starting at the same point. And if you didn't know, that's okay. You're here to learn, and I'm here to teach. So a series of processes that are interdependent, predictable, and repeatable so that you generate consistent results. I say almost every time because here's the thing. No system is mistake-proof. No system is accident-proof. There are going to be times when you have your system all laid out, steps 1 through 10, and something happens, an outside event or circumstance may happen, and it impacts that system and changes the way that the results come about. So you just have to be prepared that that may be the case. The good thing is it's better to have a system than to not have one at all. So when I think of systems in terms of the real world in a practical aspect, think about in the morning how you prepare yourself to work. Okay? If you're preparing yourself to get out of the bed in the morning and to brush your teeth and to do your hair and to put your makeup on and to get a certain set of clothes laid out and all of the different things that are required for you to prepare yourself to get in that car and to head to work, that in itself is a system because it's a series of steps and activities and processes that all are predictable. Typically, you know that when you do those things in a certain order, and you're doing them every morning so they're repeatable, you know that this is going to typically land you in the right place, which is it may be at your desk, okay? So the trigger for that system in this case is the fact that you wake up, and maybe it's an alarm that wakes you up, and that is the trigger for your system. And the end result is your arrival at the office where you begin work. Okay? So just to kind of give it to you in practical, real-life terms. Now, the thing I want you to remember as you're taking notes for this event is that systems are not just about systems for system's sake. Because I so many times hear people talk about systems and say, oh, you've got to have systems, you've got to have business systems, but they're not really telling you why. And so I want you to understand that when I talk about business systems and the purpose really for sharing what I'm sharing with you tonight is to help you to make room for massive success in your business when you improve how you get the right things done. Now notice that there are certain things that have been highlighted in this statement. Making room. Making room because your systems in themselves are not the success. They are a means to an end. They are a tool in your toolkit. They are part of the process for you becoming profitable, okay? So this is not the solo answer for your success as a marketer, as a business owner, but it allows you, when you have the right systems in place, they allow you to make room for success. They give you more time for success, okay? When you improve how, and this goes back to a comment I made earlier, oftentimes we're looking at the what, but we are not paying attention to how we're getting to a certain place. And focus on the right things versus just doing a system or putting something in place because somebody else told you to do it, that's going to be key as well. So we'll get more into that here in just a second. Now I want to share with you, remember I mentioned there are 5 really essential systems. So if you were struggling when I asked you the question about, what's an example in your business of a system, from what I know in viewing and scanning through the names, and some of you have registered tonight, what I know about you is that most of you are in a service business. So if you are in a service business where you're providing a service to others, and that's really the core of what you're doing, these 5 are going to typically be some very essential systems. And if you don't know where to start, I would suggest and recommend that you look at these 5, okay? And I'm going to walk you through them. First of all is attracting new clients. How are you actually getting people to be interested in what you do, in what you deliver? The second one is how you schedule FaceTime. And I don't mean necessarily face-to-face because we know many times these days we do a lot online. Personally, about 95% of my business is done online, and it's because of my personal circumstances, and it's the way that I choose to operate. Now, some of you may operate in a service where you do provide real FaceTime. But just to clarify why I have that in quotes, it's because it can apply in either situation, whether you're an online or an offline service provider. So how you schedule your calendar, how you actually plan and set up arrangements so that you can meet with people, because people really are the center of your business, so you've got to have clients if you want to make a profit, right? How you schedule that time and create boundaries around your time is an important system. How you choose to follow up is another important system. This is a system because this is oftentimes one of those sets of activities that you have to intentionally put together so that it gets done. If you don't, you won't follow up. Trust me, I know, because I've been there. I've been in that situation where I had no such system and I was flying by the seat of my pants, and I would lose out on so many opportunities because of the fact that I was failing to follow up. So a follow-up system is an essential system. Onboarding is basically the concept of how you're bringing in new clients into your business. So they've decided they no longer just want to be a prospect or lurker on your social sites. Now they want to actually invest in your business. They're going to do that. There should be a smooth transition from prospect to client. So the onboarding process is a system. Delivering results, how do you deliver results in your business? That is also a system. So I wanted to give you these 5 key systems, especially if you're struggling right now with knowing where to start in your own business and where to focus. These 5 are going to be very essential. Now, one of the reasons why systems are so imperative to our business is that coming into our businesses as entrepreneurs, it's like we want things to go fast, okay? This is just the nature and the personality of entrepreneurs. We want to go fast. We want things to happen right now. We want to get to that end result, and sometimes we miss the process. Sometimes we don't enjoy the ride. And this is something I want you to think about as an analogy when you're thinking about your systems. The idea of you having no systems at all means that you're constantly having to stop and reinvent yourself. You're constantly having to stop and pause and think about, wait a minute, what's next? And if you're a bullet train trying to go, 100 miles per hour to get to your destination, you're never going to get there if you're constantly having to stop every 5 miles. And you will if you don't have systems in place, because you're constantly having to take a pause, which means you can't pick up the momentum to get to your destination. And sure, you might eventually get there in a few years, but wouldn't it be great if you could get there in a shorter time, if it could only take a few months or a few weeks, depending on where you're trying to get to in your business? So remember that a train ride stopping every 5 miles can never pick up momentum. And this is one of the reasons systems are important. One of the things that I will share with you is that a lot of times what we do is we fail. We fail dramatically. We fail horrendously. We fail remarkably because of one of these 3 things. We either try to do it all and master no system, or we master one and everything else is broken, or we master all our systems. We've got everything, we're doing it all, it's all in process, but we then suffer on a personal level. I remember I had a client once who was a master at coaching. Her coaching process was solid, and the way that she was able to get people to the end results, it was rocking. I mean, she always got people to their end result. The problem was everything else was broken. So as she would, for example, solicit or be prepared for people to send in their payments for the month, or however she'd set those up, she had people in so many different type of payment arrangements that nobody was paying, and she couldn't keep up with who was missing a payment. She ended up having to become a taskmaster and having to become a bill collector instead of focusing on the thing that she was really strong at doing, which was coaching. Now, I suffered from number 3, and not too long ago, to be honest with you, and I'll share a little bit about that with you in just a second. But most of the time, many people suffer from number 1, which is I want to do everything and be everything in my business. I want to have all, I want to be the cook, the, cleanup person. I want to be the banker. You can't do it all and be successful. There have to be ways that are put in place, or systems that are put in place, so that you can be successful not only in your business life, but also on a personal level. Okay, and the personal level is important, and that's what I'll share with you now, just a little bit about my story, because I think it's important for you to hear this. See, I mentioned that I had that number 3 syndrome, where I become this master at all of these different systems, and part of it is because I love systems, okay? That's just one of those geeky things about me. But what I found was happening is that I was starting to lose out on a personal level. My health was failing. My health was being attacked. And so one day, and this was probably late last year, and, I had just so many different things on my plate. I mentioned I'm a soccer mom, so I'm constantly at soccer with my eldest, who's playing competitive sports now. My youngest, who's in the picture right there, her name is Callie. She has different activities going on. I have my business. I was doing my corporate thing as an analyst for a Fortune 100 company. That was a lot of stress. I was traveling. I mean, there was just so many different things. And in my business, I felt like I was a success because I was doing all of these different things that I'd learned and began to execute. And, I have learned how to execute so well that I can get things done very quickly and easily. But the problem was that I was trying to do too much. And I was driving to go pick up the kids one afternoon. And this earlier in the week, I felt pain in my hands, but I didn't quite feel it on the scale that I felt it. I'm driving. I'm behind cars. It's in 5 o'clock traffic in Dallas, which if any of you have ever been to Dallas in 5 o'clock traffic, you know that's ridiculous. But I'm driving, and all of a sudden my hands lock up. Like I can't even feel the steering wheel because there's so much pain in both of my hands, not just one, but in both of them. They lock up to the point to where I literally am having to drive with my thighs and knees, turning my steering wheel with my thighs and knees until I can pull over into a parking lot and just sit there and cry because that's all I could do. The pain was so fierce. And what I found out later on after being examined by my physician is that I had developed a severe case of tendinitis in my hands. And part of it was because of all of the typing and blog posting and social media and everything I was doing with my hands and not taking breaks and not paying attention to the fact that I needed to slow down and have some personal time where I was not doing anything. Okay? And as a result, I ended up having to create new systems to get certain things done and to add certain types of automation to the way that I do things. And I added programs like Dragon Naturally Speaking so that I could dictate what I wanted typed, so that I could free up my hands and be able to use them again. And even now, I still at times have to take medication when they are really, really getting to the point where I can't bear the pain. So I'm saying that to say, I don't know what your particular situation is and what has brought you here with me tonight, but it's probably pain on some level, whether it's mental pain or pain of overwhelm or physical pain like I had, whatever it is. I want you to be able to take the information I'm going to share with you and make room for massive success in your business by improving how you get the right things done. And you've got to make decisions about what the right things are, and you've got to make decisions about how you get them done. So I mentioned earlier the avatar Jackie. Okay, and this is the one I wanted to actually send you. I probably should have just sent it to you in advance, so my apologies for that. But you can see it on screen, and I'm going to walk you through this because this is going to be the core of our 10 steps that we're getting ready to get into and move through. So Jackie is an independent financial services consultant. She's an independent service provider just like you and I. And on the screen, you'll notice that there are a couple of things we know about her. And to be honest with you, Jackie is kind of a conglomeration of a number of different clients I've worked with over the past couple of years. She's a single mother of one. She formerly worked in corporate America. She has been in business for herself a little less than a year and marketing her services about 75 to 80% of the time on the Internet. So she is a bit technically savvy. She has some knowledge of how to use the internet and how to use online resources. Now, Jackie happens to be one of those people who's more into her numbers, but she understands that relationships are key. So she uses a lot of the different types of online tools as well as offline networking to be able to connect with potential clients and prospects. Now, what's on her mind is that she's bothered because she feels like there's so many different questions and requests that are coming in for her services. She just hired somebody to help her, but she's struggling with how to engage her new clients. And she's also feeling a little frustrated as well because one of the things that's happening, and I didn't have enough room on the sheet, but I'm going to share this with you. One of the things that's happening with Jackie, and this is really big, is that she has clients that decide, hey, I do want to work with you. But at some point in that onboarding process where she's bringing them in, she loses them. And I'll say more about that in a minute. What's on her plate? She's got a lot of stuff on her plate. This probably looks a lot like your task list, too, as an entrepreneur. She's got meetings every day. She's trying to manage her inbox and read emails and respond to people and prospect and participate in blogging and training and speaking and marketing. She's doing all of these different things. And mind you, she just hired someone new, but that person still has to get up and running. At the heart of her business, and I'm reading around clockwise if you're watching with me. At the heart of her business, Jackie wants to help other single mothers master their own financial situation so that they can feel more secure about their future and their children's future. This is at the core of who she is and why she does everything she does. But she continues to get distracted. So she's distracted by all of the different things she's a part of, all of the different courses and books and tickets that she's got for different events that she's supposed to go to. I mean, she's got all of these different things that have become real distractions for her. And frankly, she knows that there's some things that need to change, but she's not sure exactly what. In terms of support, she does have a significant other who is supportive, but he just doesn't, there's no way that he can help her to really organize the things she needs to organize. And she does have a small core network of other people, other service providers that she's met, that she networks with, and that they talk about, what's going on in their businesses. She may be part of a mastermind or something to that effect as well. Okay? This is Jackie. And this is the person we're going to talk to as we walk through our 10 ways to design better systems. So let's get started with number 1. The first piece of advice that I would share with Jackie, based on the circumstances and based on her profile as we just reviewed it, is that you've got to really start where you are and not where you want to be. You've got to examine the stage of the business that you're in right now, because here's what I keep seeing. I see us trying to operate like someone who's already made it to a particular destination. And so when we hear advice from gurus, when we hear and read and view information about certain resources that we should invest in, all you've got to do is pay $600 a month and you'll have this, fabulous email marketing service. That may not be quite where you are right now. And so you've got to examine, when it comes to your systems, what is the right tool for where I am? Another, a small story I'll share with you that might help you with this. I had a client a couple of years ago who was part of a class where I was teaching some information about how to use, different email and inbox management systems. And one of the things that I love is Gmail. And so I talked a lot about Gmail and gave a lot of tips from that perspective. But I understood and shared with people on the call that I know that you may be using a totally different system. And so this particular person, about, 2 or 3 months after this class, I reached out and connected with her just to check in and see how things were going. And she said, oh, it's going crazy. I just hate it. And I said, well, tell me, What's going on? You know, what kind of things have you implemented in your inbox management system that are driving you crazy? She said, well, I tried to change everything over from Outlook to Gmail, and it's just not working for me. So that's another example of starting where you are. When I gave her permission to give herself permission to go back to the system that or the tool in the system that she really loved using, and to implement the concepts but using the same tool, that worked for her. So the first piece of advice I would give Jackie in this instance and looking at her profile is you've got to look at where you are. She's in a business that's less than a year. There are going to be certain things that she'll need to have in place now that will set her up for larger, bigger, better systems in the future. But she doesn't have to go big right now. Which leads me to the next piece of advice, and that is think big, but start small. Jackie has a ton of things on her plate. Remember that list of different tasks and activities? It's important now for her to be able to break down what's most important. We talked about doing the right things, right? So thinking about what are the right things to start with is going to be most effective. You might realize in your own situation that there are multiple systems. So when I talked about the 5 essentials, you may be thinking, Tanya, doggone it, I've got all 5 I need to fix. You may be thinking that, but I want to encourage you that you can think big and think in terms of, you know what, all 5 of these will be, you know, I'll have them positioned, I'll position myself to where they are right where I want them to be over a period of time. You start small by choosing something to start with, building out on that system, making it effective, making it work for you, and then go to the next thing. And I have to tell you, I really learned this premise from a guy named Leo Babauta. Leo is the blogger from ZenHabitsBlog.net. He's awesome, awesome. And I interviewed him on my Simplify for Success podcast, and one of the things that he said really struck out at me because it was at the very beginning of a new year. And he said, Tanya, so often what we do at the new year is we make this whole long list of things that need to be done, right? We say, oh, I've got to get this done, and I'm going to be exercising, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that. And when we do make this horrendously long list, it becomes so complicated that we're paralyzed and we do nothing. Instead, he said, Leah said, take one and focus on that for 30 days until you get right where you want it to be. Focus on that. And that was awesome. That made sense to me because I thought, oh, so my goal of drinking water 8 glasses a day, I don't have to figure that out at the same time I'm trying to implement my exercise plan and I'm trying to implement my this plan and my that. I can work on just drinking water for the next 30 days. And when I accomplish that, I have this sense versus this sense of overwhelm, right? So think big, but start small. Think big, but start small. One of the things with Jackie that I mentioned is that she has a challenge with putting people through her onboarding process. So let me explain why this is a biggie for her, okay? Because what's happened is when Jackie is working with new clients, what she does is or prospects that are becoming clients, what she does is she requires them to fill out like a 20-page form that shares all of their financial information, all of the things that they've ever done financially for the last 10 years. Have they ever been bankrupt? I mean, it's just this long 20-page questionnaire. In addition to, she gives them a book to read. In addition to, she has a 3-hour-long consultation with them. Now, you just imagine yourself being a new prospect turned client for Jackie. At some point, you're going to say, you know what, this is too much, because finances are already a complicated topic. And now here you are downloading on your new client all of this information in this whole lengthy process. So and at this point, by the way, when she gives them all this stuff, she hasn't even charged them a dime. And guess what? They decide after they get all that homework, they don't want to pay a dime. So they end up leaving. And that is way too much. That's too much. And so what she's got to think about is how to keep the main thing, which is the next piece of advice. And the main thing is, what is the purpose again? What is it that you said you ultimately want to keep at the heart of your business? And the core of Jackie's business was she wanted to help other single mothers master their financial situations so that they can feel security. If that is at the heart of what she's doing, she's making it too hard to work with her. She's making it too difficult for them to become masters, because before you become a master, you have to start small, right? So keeping the main thing, if she were to keep that focus of what she really is trying to do in front of her, it will help her to connect with the people by starting with how she's creating an experience for them. Okay? So keep the main thing so you can make room for massive success in your business and improve how you get the right things done. So these right things, were they, if you think about what I just explained and all the different things she was doing, some of those things probably are the right things. She probably needs some of that information in order to really consult and give valid advice to the women that she's working with. But she's got to improve the how she's getting to that place, okay? So another piece of advice I would give her would be, okay, let's look at your current resources and what you're using right now, and then build from there. So in this whole process, as I mentioned to you earlier, she was giving the person a book. She was doing, the 3-hour consultation. She was doing all these different things. And so I asked her, when you look at all of these different resources and all of this content that you are sharing with them, have you ever thought about automating that or productizing that information? And here's what I mean. This is the piece of advice I gave her. I said, take that 3-hour-long personal consultation and think about what are the real key points that they have to have in order to begin working with you. Now take that 3-hour-long consultation, break that down into some FAQs based on the key things they must know and that they want to know to get started. Break that down into a series of video shorts, because it's the same information. She was giving people the same information. So if you're giving people the same information and that is your starting point, chunk it down into smaller bites so that it's easy to digest. And so what she was able to do is to take that whole process, even key points from the book. She made the book a bonus instead of making people feel like they had to read it. But she said, hey, this is a bonus that you get for working with me. When you decide to sign up and officially become my client, you're going to get this. Because that way it felt like a load off their shoulders, like, oh, this is another resource, not another task or chore. She took the consultation and she took all of the things that she was doing at the very beginning. She broke it up into small video bites, no more than 20 minutes each. And those small videos, those video shorts, I think there were maybe 3 or 4 by the end, people could take them at their leisure. They could even take them before they decided to actually work with her, because this was just core basic information that they needed to know. And what she did is she gave away the first one without any registration, and the other 3 videos you had to sign up for to be part of her mailing list. Ta-da! People are still getting the same info, but she's looking now at her current resources and content, and she's making it more effective for the person who's on the other end receiving. To give you an example of how this happened to work in my own business, and this may help you with a different context, when you're looking right now at tools that you've engaged in your business to create your systems, think about what you're using and what you're not using. I had gone to a conference earlier this year, and I enjoyed the conference. I got a lot of great new tools, which is like my thing. And I found out about this tool that's going to be great with Aweber. It's called AW Pro, that will help you to streamline and all this other stuff, right? And so I went ahead because it was brand new, and hey, if you get in on the beginning, you're going to get the early bird rate, and your rate is locked in, and it's only X amount per month. I bought into all of that, right? Now, mind you, I wasn't even using Aweber at the time. In fact, I don't even use it now. I wasn't using it, but I said, let me go ahead and add this resource because I might need it later on. And at some point I got smart, and I looked at and kind of did an audit of all of my different online tools, and it was one of the first to go. Why? Because one, it wasn't something I really needed. I already had an effective email marketing system and tool in place. I didn't need it. So I had to look at things that needed to be eliminated and things that needed to stay, and basically not add on immediately. So as you're designing your own system, think about what you've got right now that can work, and see if you can make that work effectively before you go and invest in a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, many of you who have heard me talk about systems have heard me speak about the 3 daily decisions. And this is something else that I would coach Jackie about, and that is, look, Jackie, you've got a lot on your plate. There are a whole lot of things that you're doing right now, but every day you have an opportunity to look at the activities you're engaging in and decide, is it something I need to act on? Can I assign it to someone else? Or can I automate this process? When you make these 3 daily decisions, it can make things so much easier for you. When she looked at her calendar and saw, okay, I got this networking event tomorrow, and I've got this class to teach tomorrow, and I've got to speak next week, and I've got the kids event, or my child, because she's got one, I've got his stuff over here I've got to do. She has to somehow create good boundaries, and one of the simplest ways that I've taught myself to do that is really by stopping and looking at everything I do and separating it into one of these 3 buckets. Can I act on this? Should I be the one to do it? Do I need to assign or delegate it or outsource it to someone else? Or can I pull in an online tool, which is really where my gift is, by the way. Can I pull in an online tool that will allow me to replicate myself and get this done? So 3 daily decisions. I would coach her to do that. Another thing that we talk about, and this speaks to the heart and core of her business and probably yours too. Don't get so wrapped up in the system and in the process that you forget about the people. That's something that happened with Jackie initially because she got so caught up in the information that she needed. I've got to have these things in order to properly work with this person and give them good advice. They need to read this book. They need to see blah, blah, blah. She was forgetting about the people, the mothers who she was working with who want to be more financially free. What do they need in that process, in that system? What does your customer need in order for them to feel comfortable with the end result? How are you making them feel throughout that process? What experience are you creating for the people? So always put people first over the process. And here's another tip in this regard. When your process is something that is not quite working for a particular person and you know that it's not, please don't stick to the process. Think about ways that you can be more flexible and that you can adapt it so that it's a win for you and a win for the other person. Example, really short story. I had a prospective client who really wanted to work with me, and I thought she was great, and I thought what she was trying to do with her business was great too. My books were full. I couldn't take on another individual client at the time. But the other thing about it was I am used to doing, and it's just worked for me, online coaching. She wanted to meet face-to-face. And so I did make an exception by allowing her to do a strategy session, a 1-hour strategy session, so we can get her pointed in the right direction. And I met her at Starbucks to do it. It was a win for me. It was a win for her. You've got to know, however, when to break your boundaries and when to be flexible and when to put a specific individual over your process. Okay? That could be a whole other webinar. So I hope that's enough to give you at least some ideas. Examining the benefits. Okay? This is another key piece to creating better systems. Look at the benefits for you and for your clients. What are you getting out of the system? Are you getting anything from it? Are you getting nothing? Is it something you started at one point, it was working well, but now it's just gone crash? So examine the benefits. When you think about your system, does it make sense to have such a lengthy process? A 3-hour-long consultation where you're not even being paid is probably not beneficial for you, nor is it beneficial for that potential client. And I'm sharing this with you in terms of the avatar we're talking about, but I want you to think about it in terms of any type of system. We're talking about onboarding. This could be any system in your business that all of these things apply to. The next one is ask what must happen. What must be in place? What has to be present in order for my systems to work? Is there something specific I need to change or do in order for this to work? Evaluating the cost. This kind of speaks to the idea about those online tools. We all love them. You probably are bombarded every day with a new app or a new service or a new something coming out, a new program or a new anything. And it may or may not change your system, but you've got to think about what is it going to cost me and am I prepared to do this, which goes back to number 1 where we talked about starting where you are. But you have to know the cost of adding resources or the cost of not changing the system. Examine what it's going to take. If you don't make a change in the way you're currently doing things with your inbox, if you don't make a change in the way that you're currently attracting clients, what is it costing you? How is it impacting your business? Next, I want you to look at, we've got just this one last one. I'm going to go into a couple of other things. Create visual maps. Now, this is my favorite, which is why I saved it for last. So you've implemented all of the other 9 things. Once you've gotten to a place where you know this is the system that I want to have in place, this is the step-by-step process I'm going to use to get things done, then you need to be able to document that so you can easily follow or know what your next steps are going to be, okay? So your next steps could, for example, look like this little map right here. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big, giant wall poster. It could be something as simple as a PowerPoint flowchart, which is something I'm going to share with you how to do in an upcoming course that I'll tell you about in a second. But it could be this simple, where you've laid out this is what's next. Now, why does this work? Because when you create these visual maps or some type of document, whether it's a flow chart, something called a swim lane chart, a fishbone diagram, there's all kinds of ways you can do this. A mind map, many of you are probably familiar with that term. Whatever you use, what it allows you to do is to easily know what's next. What am I going to do next? Let me pull out my map. Oh, I'm right here. This is what I need to do next. So remember the idea of the train having to stop every 5 miles. Instead of stopping, it continues momentum because you know exactly where you're needing to go. Okay? The other advantage to having visual maps is the ability to be able to delegate more easily. Imagine when you hire that new assistant. If Jackie were to hire her new assistant and she's working with her now to train her and get her up and running, all she's got to do is say, okay, here's the 6 maps that I currently use for 6 different systems in my business. I want you to study these and know what the next steps are for each of these systems. Now it cuts down on the training time she's got with her new assistant because she has some idea. She's got a visual in place that tells her, oh, okay, I see where we're going next. Okay? So it makes it easier for you to act, it makes it easier for you to assign, and it also makes it easier when you have a visual to figure out where to plug in automation. I hope that makes sense to you. There are so many ways that you can make room for massive success in your business when you improve how you get the right things done. That's what we've been talking about all night long. And I want to go through these 10 again so that to make sure, in case you're taking notes and I went too fast, to make sure that you have them. First is start where you are. Next is think big and start small. Keep the main thing the main thing. Look at your current resources and build on what you already have, because you might find that you're already investing in something every month that you could be using more effectively before you add on that next tool or resource. Make those 3 critical decisions every day. What do I act on? What do I automate? What do I assign? Remember people over process. Examine and evaluate the benefits to what you're doing. If it's no longer beneficial, you may need to eliminate a step or 2. Ask yourself, what must happen? What needs to be in place in order for me to do this? Let me give you an example there, because I don't think I gave you a clear example there. I had a client who is an executive coach, and one of the things that she realized is that she had a lot of resources already in place, but there were certain things that needed to happen. For one thing, she needed to switch out the people that she hired as assistants because they were not going to make the system work. So we created this great system for her, but she knew by the time we got done talking, she knew that the folks that she had that were doing things in that role were not technically capable of being able to carry out the system. So her what must happen was that she had to make some staffing changes. Okay, so that's just one example. The next thing we talked about was evaluating the cost. What is it going to cost me to change, and what if I don't? How much will that cost? And when you're thinking about that, I really want you to think in terms of dollars. Okay, how much in terms of money, real dollars, will it cost? And then finally, creating visual maps. So I'm going to share with you really quickly so we can get right into our coaching Q&A. I'm going to share with you a little bit about a program that I have coming up because I want you to know this is coming. And it's still a little ways out, and I'm not ready for you to sign up because I don't have a sign-up page. I do have a sign-up page, and this is one of the 2 things I was going to tell you to do, but it's a Notify Me page, okay? A little bit about the course. It's going to be called Process Mapping for Coaches. It may be called Process Mapping for Coaches and Consultants. I haven't even really finalized that, but I will tell you what I have done. I've mapped out a 30-day or 4-week course where I want to help you to cut your time getting to the end result, your time on the bullet train, from years and months down to weeks by working on your systems and really examining your specific business so that we can look at what kind of systems need to be worked on, what needs to change. And in that 4 weeks, of course, we can't tackle every single system you have, but I'm going to teach you a process by laser focusing on one relevant system in your business so that you know how to then do this process, use this process for yourself on your other systems. I want to help you to get clarity on who should be doing what and whether or not there are online tools. And anyone that knows me well can tell you I have a plethora, I love that word, plethora of online tools that will help you get what you need done, okay? Make daily activities meaningful. I want to help you to be able to do that by focusing on the right things. So I'm going to be doing this or teaching this class starting June 5th of this year. It's going to help you to do all the things that I just mentioned to you just a second ago, cutting your process time in half, getting clear on what's working and what's not, knowing who to delegate to and how to delegate it without being stressed out. And it's going to be a step-by-step technique that I'll use. Now, it's going to be a combination of on-demand videos that I'm creating right now, but you'll also have live coaching calls, and I will also provide you with my own personal templates for certain types of systems, okay? Some of these systems, or templates rather, will be focused on your branding, your client's branding, and what they need and want from your system. It'll be focused on how to identify and spot problems in a particular system. We're going to use tools like PowerPoint and paper and pen. You don't have to be technically savvy to know how to create your own visual maps or process maps. So I'll be sharing all of these things with you, and the way to get notified and to be on the early notice list so that you get the best rate. And I'm promising you this, only those who are going to be on this list, on this early bird notice list, will get the best rate. You'll get it first and you'll get the best rate. Go to TanyaSmithOnline.com/tellmeaboutPMClass. So tell me about process mapping class. I know that's long, but I thought it would be easy to remember. TanyaSmithOnline.com is my main website. And just add a /tellmeaboutPMClass. So in order for you to get notified early, make sure that you get on that list and you'll have the information sent to you when it's ready to go. The second thing I want to ask you to do before we get into coaching Q&A is to leave me feedback tonight. And I have a perk for you, by the way. If you do tonight or within the next 24 hours of hearing this call, leave me feedback at TanyaSmithOnline.com/feedback. You're going to want to put in, it's going to ask you which course or class have you experienced. I want you to go ahead and just type in something like Designing Systems Webinar or Better Systems Webinar. Okay, something that will trigger for me that you're on this call, because I'm going to send you a system success map, okay, with 6 questions, free, no holds barred, no obligations. I'm going to send it to you. I just want your feedback about tonight to see if I was able to deliver what I intended to deliver to you and you were able to get value from that. Does that make sense? So if you will fill out the feedback form, just TanyaSmithOnline.com/feedback, you'll get this free system success map, which I am personally sending to you with a thank you note. So it won't come like immediately. I don't have that part automated. I wanted to personally send you a thank you note and to personally send you the map myself, so I'm going to do that. And you'll get it within 24 to 48 hours of leaving me the feedback. All right.